Welcome. It's art. It's music. It's life. It's fashion. It's listening. It's learning. It's sharing. It's determining and discerning fact from fiction, from illusion, from fantasy. It's art inspired by life. It's life inspired by art. We're living at a time like no other on planet Earth. Spiritual, physical, metaphysical, insights, wisdom, challenges. We're more connected by technology and less connected to each other. We're all seeking answers, and we're often too busy to listen for the truth. Her story and his story and our story. I research, I question, I look for answers to share with you, exploring higher visions. Authors and publishers and creatives, all bringing us their empowerment tools, their insights. And I'm mining for those gems of wisdom. We share the fiery energy of transformation, healing, inspiration, and lots of revelations. Let's chat. Let's explore. Welcome back to CWC Art and Soul with Catherine Whalen Costin. All right, let's get into this conversation. Links will be provided in the description box. And also, if you feel this is too long, listen to it in segments because she's got so much good information to share. I will get timestamps on it and also subtitles as soon as possible. So thanks for watching, and let's get into this conversation with Susanne. But it's fascinating that we have these very simple tools. And when you look at the science behind it, I mean, it supports what our ancestors already knew. They didn't need science to tell them. Like you said, an old-fashioned doctor, yeah, every kid's going to, what I heard, everybody's going to eat a pound of dirt in their lifetime. So just let them eat it. And I said, yeah, but do they have to eat it in one day? Like when my kids were little, I had one that was in particularly loved the mud. And so, but even I'm thinking that even kids that love to go dirt bike riding or just bike riding in the mud, what do you think they're doing? Why are they attracted to that?
Yeah. It's
so natural.
It's so natural. So
you are working now this is your field now, is to help people in this direction. So do you offer courses, or how do you work with people?
Yeah. So I transitioned from the book after all the copies were sold to doing speaking engagements. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and I talked about the life lessons learned climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Then what happened actually was I had a friend say to me, Susanne, I don't get what you get. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't get what you get when you go out into nature. She said, I don't get it. And I thought, well, what's not to get? But I grew up on a farm. And so she didn't have that luxury. She grew up in the city. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if you haven't been exposed to it, and I couldn't even quite articulate why it was. And so what I started to do, I did a deep dive into all the scientific studies that are out there and more that are coming. I love the book by Robin Wall Kimmerer, Braiding Sweetgrass, where she brings in the spirituality of the Indigenous people into being a botanist as well. And it's a fabulous book. And so I continuously research just all the healing benefits of being out in nature. And our brains are incredible organs, absolutely amazing organs. But just like a muscle, after we've been working out in a gym, they get tired. And the more technology time that we have, the more nature time we need to decompress, and allow the brain to rest. Because what happens when we go out into nature is we're tapping into the same area of our brain that we do when we're daydreaming or when we're being introspective. So it's really, really, really interesting to me. And
well, it is a form of meditation. I mean, it really...
It is if you're not talking on your cell phone while you're out there, because there was a study done in 2020 actually, where they had people go out for a walk without their phone, and another group go for a walk and be talking on their phone. And those that were on their phone did not get the benefits of overall well-being, the benefits of memory recall, and cognitive functioning. So yes, you can get out into nature, but being mindful in nature is where the real key is.
Oh, wow. I just had a light bulb go off. The as per usual, this actually reinforces that our mind or our consciousness doesn't know the difference between the present now, the future, the past. So if you're out in nature, but your mind is on the phone, it's like distracted driving. They understand that your mind, in your mind, when you're talking on the phone, you're actually with that other person, wherever they're at. It's like they're in an office somewhere, and that's where you are, and you're not aware of whatever is around you. So of course you've turned off your sixth sense, which is why people do end up, sometimes being startled or vulnerable to a predator, because you're not there. You're not there. You're actually wherever your office or whoever you're talking to on the phone. Same thing as listening to, and I love that people listen to my podcast when they're doing other things. Okay, multitasking. I get that part, but where are you? If you're listening to music or a podcast while you're running, let's say, are you with the music? Are you, in the exploration with the podcaster, the person's voice? Or are you in nature? And we can't be everywhere. So... and I really think that's part of our conditioning in this world, busy, that multitasking. And they do say that people don't actually really multitask. We do.
We're terrible.
Yeah. But we're really in one place. We might be doing other things, but we're not doing it well. Right. And so,
well, just think of, so you're depriving yourself of, when you're listening to anything else out in nature, you're not hearing the bird song, you're not hearing any water, you're not hearing the wind, which are soothing to the ear, right? So our senses aren't fully engaged when we're engaged in something else, right? And so that mindfulness piece is really, really key. And that actually, I offer an online Wild About Nature challenge. And I started that in 2019. And what happened was I was just using Facebook units to do it. And then the pandemic hit. And I reached out to a friend of mine that was in the corporate world. And I said, is there any chance, you would do corporate team building using Facebook units? And she said, there's no way the managers would go for that. So I decided to create my very own platform. So that's what I did was, so it's drip fed content. The prompts come out each day with a prompt for them to look at something in nature. There's pre and post surveys to see where their mental health, their physical well-being, overall well-being, and their connection with nature is at. And it's also gamified. So there's points. They get points for participating. They get points for interacting with one another on the platform. And I've had people from Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Canada, the US participate in the program. And especially during the pandemic, one of the ladies said, oh my God, this feels like I'm traveling again. Because what happens is people would take pictures of the prompt that I was asking for the day, and they would upload it. And so we would be able to see other people's prompt. And I left it very creative and open-ended. So just for example, for day number 1, the letter is A. So go outside into nature and find anything that begins with the letter A. It could be an animal, it could be awe, anything with the letter A goes. And if you can't find it, then make it out of sticks and stones. Make that letter out of sticks and stones, right? So it got people's creativity going as well. But what happened was, because there was that prompt, people said, oh my God, I saw something that I've walked by a million times before and never seen it.
I love it.
Yeah, back to your friends being mindful, pulling up to the house, right? And just looking at it like they're seeing it for the first time. They were absolutely amazed at what they were seeing and what they were discovering. And it's really open-ended learning. And that's the best way to learn, because they would come across a plant and it's like, does this begin with an A?
Right.
Right. Not sure. So,
right.
So what happens with that is they start to get knowledge for what's around them, and they start to love it, respect it, and protect it, because they can all of a sudden name it, right? Yes. And so it's a win-win for them and the planet.
Yeah, and then having that connection to people from all over the planet. And so can people sign up for this? Is this a...
Absolutely. It's a monthly online challenge that I do. And so I have it available for corporate teams. And then I also have it available for individuals to participate from wherever. So for the corporate teams, the whole idea with that is they get to build team morale, because I did the proof of concept with a company out of the Philippines, actually, that did it. And it was in the height of the pandemic. They were looking for something to help their employees, because they knew that they were suffering from, some of them were suffering from depression, mental health issues and stuff. And so it came along at a time that they needed, and they did it, and they just did it for the 1 month. And what was really amazing to me was there was one girl by the name of Kathy. She's allowed me to use her name. And she was very open about talking about her mental health struggle. And until halfway through the challenge, I didn't realize that she had never met any of these colleagues before, because she had been hired during the height of the pandemic. Wow. And what was wonderful was everyone was like, cheering for her and cheering her on. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And a lot of them were saying, okay, when the pandemic's over, we're all going to go hiking in this place together, right? And we're going to do this together. And it was amazing to see, and just to see the shift, with that survey on their mental health, their physical health, and and their connection to nature. And that was the thing. They said, I didn't realize that there was so much beauty right out my own front door. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to feel and to notice that how I feel so much more alive, or even after the pandemic, this is, how I can connect with these people that she may have worked there for another 10 years and never met any of those people. It happens. People work in large places and they don't know, because there's no humanity in it. It's just get her done every day, going in and do your job. And unless your actual job is the receptionist or someone who is interacting with people, but otherwise sometimes, yeah. And then you go home and you expect your spouse to fill the 8 hours or 10 hours you were at work to give you that connection. And they also are having the same issues. So, but we can do things here. So can people go to your website and sign up for this?
Absolutely. So what happens is, because it's a monthly challenge, I have people sign up prior to the end of the month. So 3 days prior to the end of every month, have them sign up, because there's pre-work to do or pre-play to do in filling out the survey. They actually get to order a box of Energy in the flavor of their choice. And so that's a vitamin C energy drink, which helps with electrolytes and everything. And it's naturally sourced. It's an incredible supplement, and it gets shipped directly from Vancouver, right directly to them. So that's a $20 value there. And then I also have a prize for the winner, just to make it fun, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I've had incredible sponsors of the prizes. And right now, for August and September, it's a company called Goodbye New Zealand, and they make natural outdoor skincare product. And their sunscreen is absolutely amazing. I burn like crazy. And the sunscreen that it's natural, it's sustainably sourced and packaged, and it works like a charm. It's incredible. In fact, this weekend I was kayaking on the lake, and it was hot. It was hot.
Yeah, it's very hot.
And my nose didn't burn, and I didn't have a hat. So I hadn't brought my hat, and I thought this stuff is good. So yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, and I will put the link to your website. Can you give it to us just now, just to be sure that I've got?
Sure. So it's motivatedbynature.com, and that will take you to the main site. But there's also there's the learning. If you want to go directly to the challenge page, there's learning at motivatedbynature.com. So, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fun. And you didn't mention this, but I imagine it's possible if corporate can do it, then a classroom could do it, or
100%.
A school, or schools could challenge each other in the, getting involved, and that would be fun too. Oh, just the possibilities are endless. And I think, it's funny, but sometimes that's all we need is just a little bit of a motivation, or an inspiration to step into a different way of doing things. Because when I'm thinking about how you say now, they're talking about the brain, and that we can rewire by changing the way we do things. We can. A lot of things are said, oh, we're just wired that way. Well, we can unwire.
We can rewire, and it's interesting. Yeah, because I had someone participate in the challenge, and she's actually a brain-based coach, and she participated in February during the polar vortex, and she lives out in Redwood Meadows, and she decided to do cross-country skiing because she really likes to cross-country ski instead of walking. And a few things is, she said she cross-country skied more in that month than she had the whole previous year, and she also thought that she was going outside a lot more than she was, until she did the challenge and realized, oh, I was thinking more about going out than actually doing it. And she said, getting out there for that 20 minutes, like even with that -30 weather, she dressed properly for it. She said she felt like $1 million. And she actually ended up doing it again for the next month, because she said it was just so invigorating to do it. And she said now she's got that habit to go out and do it. So
right. And isn't there a certain number of days where they say it takes to create a new habit?
Well, some say 21, some say 30, some say 66 days. So it's kind of all over the map. I'm trying to find the definitive.
But really, I mean, if you're feeling like if you start doing it and it feels good, you're going to keep doing it, and that by itself is going to rewire.
And you know what? Thank you for saying that, because that is the one thing I stress completely with everyone on the challenge. I say that you have to have fun during this challenge, because if you're not having fun, you're not going to continue doing it, right? I also acknowledge the fact that life happens, right, in the challenge. So if they can't get outdoors for that 20-minute walk, if they can just get up from their desk and take 5 minutes and look out their window for the prompt of the day, great. If the next thing is, if they could go outside and go barefoot, if they could, on the grass, and just breathe in the healing phytoncides. So phytoncides are what plants and trees give off. And when we breathe those in, what they do is they help to boost a type of white blood cell called a natural killer cell. And it helps to boost our immunity naturally. So to me with COVID, everyone should have been told, go outside and boost your immunity naturally.
Yeah, and it's like when I have plants all over my house. I can't even imagine a time in my life that I didn't have my house full of plants. But I will say that for a lot of people who don't have plants at all, or they have artificial ones or whatever, Christmas time is when people start to clue in about, and they think it's the Christmas tree alone, yeah, you just love the natural smell of pine, or you love that tree. But that smell is there all the time, not just at Christmas. It doesn't come just special for Christmas. That is nature. I mean, if you go out in nature, if you go camping, you will know when you get out of your vehicle, if you don't turn everything on, if you just stand there and kind of do a recce, like I say, just looking around, you will smell things that will make you feel good. You will, I mean, if you smell something that doesn't make you feel good, you might not be in the right spot. But you know what I mean? Like, it's those smells, those touch, the feel of the bark of a tree, or the way sand feels in your hand. All those things are not just, for vacation. They're for real. That is us.
100%. And two things I wanted to say there. They've done research on just smelling essential oils and the different areas that light up in the brain. And so a blend of frankincense and a citrus oil is great for when you're feeling mentally anxious. Yeah. So there,
wow.
Especially with COVID and people losing the sense of smell, they started to focus a lot more on that. And what I find really, really interesting is, even though whoever ended up losing their sense of smell,
yeah,
the brain still reacted to the essential oil the way it was supposed to, without us being able to smell it. So the brain has been trained for what to do.
Well,
isn't that fascinating? Wow. Yeah,
it is. That.
Yeah. And for those people that have lost their smell, there is actually protocols that you can go through to retrain your nose to smell again, because it's still having the effect on the brain. It's just your nose has forgotten how to smell, not your brain. So
fantastic.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I am so glad you left the corporate world and got that in and listened to the fairy. I think that is so important to really, I know not everyone, it's like people think it's a belief system. Well, yes and no, it is a belief system. But if you don't think this world is magical, if you're not willing to just at least imagine for a few minutes, just go into your little girl or boy part of you and say, did you ever imagine fairies in your garden, or using those little pieces of gravel to build something at night? Didn't you ever imagine what was riding on the wind? All of the best movies that I've ever seen in my life were fantastical. They were the magical, they were the mysterious, they were the, we know. I feel like we know, yes, we're in our human bodies, but we know we're not just physical. No, and the more we can connect to, and we know we have help. Mother Nature doesn't take commands from us. No. She is doing her thing, right? So what is creating that? You can sit down and get formulas and explain it all by science to a point, but there is so much that you cannot explain.
And I referred to that book by Robin Wall Kimmerer earlier, and she actually says that there's some things that science just cannot explain as to why certain things grow the way they do, and they look so beautiful in the combination that they are, and science can't explain that, right? So and
that's something that the Indigenous people all over the planet have known and would have shared so generously with the rest of us had we not had the systems that we did that were oppressing all of us and our connection to this earth. I just really, that again gives me this light bulb, and I realize if you really love something, if you really cherish something, if you really understand it and you feel it's so powerful and important, you would never want to exploit it. Yeah. And so disconnecting us from the earth made it possible for a few to exploit this beautiful planet for great profit, But we all pay. We all pay. Even they pay, but for some of them that's not what they're here for. And I'm not here to judge anybody, and I mean that's their path and whatever, but this is also our path, our time to wake up to, oh, okay, so this has been going on for this many years. No wonder we're in this situation. No wonder our children are sick and our society is not functioning. Maybe, and our earth is violently erupting and saying enough.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's, there's, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with heart math.
Yes.
Yeah. But what's really cool, so they do, for those that aren't familiar with it, heart math is getting into coherence in your breathing. So it's slowing down your breath and just getting into a coherent state. And some of the studies that they have done are just mind-blowing. And they're starting to check, the pulse of trees. And then humans' influence on the pulse of trees. So we are all energy and we're all interconnected, just like you're saying. And I got goosebumps saying that, or angel bumps saying that. But we have that ability to raise that vibration, right? And I just want to acknowledge, because I didn't acknowledge when we first started, that I live, work, and play in the traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which is part of the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani nations. And I am just so grateful to those caretakers of the past, present, and future. And it's my hope that we all continue to treat this land with respect. But one of the things I wanted to share with you was when I wrote the book about fairies, I happened to see this article by someone named Dr. Jim Butler. And he talked about the importance of open-ended learning and how, so he was a conservation biologist teaching at the U of A. He had a park position for his work term. He said, the kids were asking questions. And he said, it's a good question. Take a look around. Think about it, because he was doing open-ended questioning, and he got back and his supervisor reamed him out, and he said, you don't let those kids ask questions. You tell them what it is they need to know. Oh. And then he went into his first university class, and he found out that he was on the cutting edge of open-ended learning at that time, because he's a retired prof right now. So I reached out to him from that article, because I was just like, oh my God, I love what you're saying. And I reached out to the university. They gave me his personal number. And I said, are you sure that I can call him? They said, he'd love to hear from you. I was like, okay. So I phoned him and I said, listen, I said, you did this article that I absolutely love about open-ended learning and nature. And I've written this book about fairies, and I'd love if you would do a review for me. And he got really quiet and he said, why are you calling me really? And I said, because I really loved your approach to learning, and it's just really in alignment with. And he said, well, are you sitting down? And I said, yeah. He said, I also research fairies with the Indigenous people to ensure that the oil companies do not drill in the areas where the wee folk are.
You should have asked my audience if they were sitting down. Holy jumping Jupiter. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got the angel bumps going on that one. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is really, so you're just reconfirming the fact that we are all connected, and everything, nothing is, the only time we don't have those synchronistic moments is actually not that we don't have them, that we don't notice.
Correct.
It's always happening, but it's happening more when, like he may have had that experience, but never really connected. He did that, and this connection to you. But the fact that he is so mindful, and, it also speaks to, like you're talking about the tree and the heart energy, and we know that trees, they're communicate with each other through their root system, and
Yes.
we are also connecting in that way with, so, and I think it was, I don't know if it's Heart Math that talked about this, the most important it's the heart mind.
Yes.
If we can, get out of this mind, which is,
Yes.
and it made me think that, this mind has been programmed, subconscious especially, from the time, we're like a sponge till we're about 7. So all of that stuff is a program that was our parents and their parents and so forth. But the heart mind doesn't seem to have that program.
So, what's really interesting. I'm going to tell your listeners to try this out. So go out into nature and find a sit spot where they feel really comfortable and safe. And just sit and close their eyes and listen and see with their heart and just see what comes in for them. They may be really, really surprised by what comes in, because you tune in at a totally different level when you're not using your eyes and you're using your heart to listen and to see.
Wow. I'm going to have to try that. It was funny because recently, now that it's warmer and, you have the windows open more and whatever, my sleep is all over the place because of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So I have different cycles. Plus, I really respond to the moon, to all of these different shifts. So a lot of times I will be awake at like 4 o'clock or 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I've really started to notice certain birds chirping around that time, right?
Yes.
Really chirping loud.
Yep.
And then they get quiet for about half an hour to, and then they start different, or it's almost like different ones start.
Yes, it is.
It is, eh?
It is.
I never noticed that before. I have been really aware. It's like, okay, this is kind of early. The sun is not up, but it's starting to think about it, right? And so I'm thinking, these guys are like, the early bird gets the worm. Like they were really, and this wasn't just one night. This is, and then it gets really quiet, really quiet. And then it's like a new cycle.
Wave comes in, and it's different birds. Good on you for noticing that. Good on you.
Cool.
And one tip I was going to give you is, when you wake up in the morning, do you have a backyard that you can go out to go barefoot and drink your coffee in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because when you have that early morning light coming in, it helps to reset your circadian rhythm naturally. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, if you work on your computer late at night, get this thing called f.lux, because it dims your computer naturally so that you're not having the bright, and then, but it also comes up with bing, you're waking up in 8 hours, bing, you're waking up in 7 hours. And so it's like that little kick in the pants to get yourself off the computer and to go and focus on your sleep. And trying to avoid all the unnatural light before you go to bed at night.
I think that's a really good tip, because once you get into a better, the rhythms of, and when you're connected to the earth, you're more, I think, more harmonious. Your cycles will be more, right in the last few years, I definitely have been more in tune with the moon, the sun, the planets, whatever. And I listen to astrology. I'm aware of astronomy and the star systems and everything. And I can tell you from where I live, you can see the stars every night pretty well if there's not too many clouds, because I don't have a lot of light pollution. So
awesome.
It's incredible to see, the magnificence when I do go, mosquitoes aren't too bad and I am outside and see that starlight, it reminds me when I was a child, even in the wintertime, laying in my snowsuit in a snowbank where it would be quite comfortable to look up and see either the northern lights or all the stars and trying to find the constellations. And it wasn't, it was magnificent and it was such a connection. Yeah. And I just don't remember us having that when we had too much energy in any setting. Most of the response from adults and teachers or whatever was go outside.
Right. Exactly. And it's interesting too, because when you're talking about the northern lights and the stars, and when we have one split second of awe, it takes us from focusing on ourselves to focusing on the bigger picture. So we actually become more compassionate and more empathic, because we realize this is one big place, right? There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Rosani that did a TED Talks on gifts of awe, and just think of how much awe is out in nature, right? Yes. Sunrises, sunsets, that sort of thing. So it's just,
well, everything is awe, really. Everything. It's like that. Totally. There's a saying, either everything's a miracle or nothing's a miracle. It's
100%. Yes.
Yeah. And it truly is. The fact that we breathe is a miracle, that we're here on this planet at this time. And, the miracle of us connecting, out of all the billions of people on this planet, that we actually have this connection is precious. It's amazing. And I really want to thank you for sharing everything that you have. And I think if you're watching, really listen, and whatever is sort of you feel inspired by, maybe try one or two things, apply some of these things to, especially if your life is not as whole and awesome as you want it to be. What can it hurt? A little barefoot in the grass. What can it hurt?
Go right outside your front door and there you go. Right. So it's just.
Was there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up this interview?
Well, I would say Mother Nature is the greatest life coach out there. She has over 4.5 billion years of experience. So she has just a wee bit to teach us. So when we stop, look, and listen, she shows us so many lessons just naturally. And I actually went for a walk before this interview, and I thought, okay, I'm going to focus on the word flow today when I go out. And that's what I focused on. And I saw how the grass started to flow with the wind, and the trees and the leaves and the branches when there's wind, and how those are lessons for us in terms of, stop pushing when things are happening, learn to go with the flow, right? And there are just so many beautiful lessons there. So, and I always feel energized after I've been outside, because it helps me to look at things. And again, they find that you're a lot more creative, especially when you're around the color green. German researchers found that. Mm-hmm. So when you're around the color green, it is the color that makes you the most creative.
Wow. So that's why all my plants are always inspiring me. And
exactly. And, Edison and Einstein went for a walk every morning because they knew that would get their creative juices going.
It's funny, synchronistic things and all. Words are words, but when today you picked the word flow.
Yeah.
And this morning I was actually having that exact kind of, I wasn't picking a word of the day, but I had a inspiration about energy and about flow and I was thinking about abundance and how, why do we think we can block these things? And I thought, like money is energy, water is energy, water flows, everything flows unless we try to stop it. The thing that was so funny about it is flow was just the word that came this morning. Flow was the word that for me to kind of tap into. Everything is flow, Catherine. And then
I must have been picking up on your vibe.
Or you were telling me what we were gonna talk about. But isn't that incredible? How, I mean, I think I want to be that way always. I was that way when I was a child, and I shouldn't even say I want to be. I am that way in the sense that I feel like everything it amazes me, and it makes me giggle. It's always like so much more than what I thought it was going to be, and nothing is all that serious, even though it might seem that way.
We take ourselves way too seriously. We gotta
yeah, we do, and it's easier for some people than others. There's that's kind of our personality, but it can be done. So I am feeling so odd, and that we had this time together, and that you have shared all this exploration that you've done. I love the fact that people are doing this and then coming back and sharing with everyone else. I mean, that's key, right?
And that's where the gold happens. It is in the sharing. And I've had the participants say that they said, yeah, it's great to get out, but when I have to write it down again and think about, and then see other people's comments and what they saw that I didn't think, to look for, or whatever it might be, or that's not even available in my area, that's where the real magic happens.
Can you imagine, as this spreads and more people are doing this in classrooms and workplaces and whatever, what a wonderful world it will be.
It will be, absolutely.
I mean, it is a wonderful world, but it is getting more and more wonderful as we start to step away from what we thought was most important to what really is important. And I acknowledge also, what you were saying about, we're on Indigenous land in North America, and, really the whole planet, when you think about it. I mean, it really is. And every part of the globe has Indigenous peoples, histories, cultures. And if you go back far enough, we are brothers and sisters, truly. And so we need to just really realize that regardless of our skin color, our ethnicity, so to speak, as our cultures, this is just divinity expressing in a different way. It's like when I'm baking and I make buns, and sometimes they are in braids and sometimes they're in little rolls. Sometimes they get overcooked, sometimes they get undercooked. It's still all buns. So, and we all got buns. So there you go.
Best buns in town.
That's right. Exactly. And so I just think we've spent so much time trying to find ways to divide and separate us, and so much competition. And there is competition, healthy competition in nature. I do understand that. I think there was a time where I was a bit naive and tried to think there shouldn't be competition, but it is part of our growth. And and most of it is, the most important competition we're ever going to have is with us, with ourselves, from being a better person than we were yesterday. There's the true competition. So this has been fantastic. And I do encourage people to get the fairy book for their children, and to enjoy the lightheartedness, and to honor Sarah as well, that inspired you, the little fairy. Go to Susanne's website for more information, and get into nature. Thank you, Susanne.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor, and let's step outside.
Yeah, we should have done this interview outside. That'd be even more precious, although that wind does carry sound.
It does. That's what it's all about. Explore with an open mind, and that
an open heart.
And that wonder and awe.
Yeah, absolutely. And let the curiosity continue for everybody. So thank you, Susanne, and really enjoy your day, and get outside, get into nature. Absolutely. And for everyone else, do make sure you subscribe, like the video, share with your friends, let people know this is available. We don't have to be stuck in stress. We can do things. We can get into nature. So until next time, take care.
Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for subscribing or following, liking, and sharing the podcast. It helps me grow this channel and hopefully reaches more people with an empowering message. It's always nice to know there is wisdom out there and you can tap into it. Visit the website for more information on how to be a guest, see the guest list and future shows and topics. And while you're there, I invite you to browse my acrylic art pieces on canvas and wood. They make an amazing home decor, high vibe art. And you'll also find the link to my storefront for luxurious women's fashions and home decor, created and designed by me with my art and manufactured in Montreal, Canada by Le Galeriste. And it is really amazing to have found them. They are environmentally conscious. They use a special dye that doesn't fade, and it's humanely manufactured. It is an awesome time to be on the planet and have these choices. So I invite you to explore and see if there is something there for you. Until next time, take care.